Wait, so Matt, what are your spooky plans?
I think I'm gonna add an 8th or 9th murder to this year's tally.
Okay.
We got him.
We got
Guys,
him. We got him.
What do you? Wait, what? Oh God! It's 20 seconds into the episode.
We got him.
So with that, hello and welcome back. We're the Tough Cut Podcast, and this is episode
Jesus
81. Sorry. Part 4 of the long bracket, and I'm Matthew.
I'm Alex.
I'm Jakers.
And today we've got quite the agenda on our plate.
Yeah.
We've got the sum total of like 25, 26 hours of movie.
Yeah.
All comes down to this matchup. And that is RRR versus Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, Extended Edition. It's going to get crazy. But before we get to that, we've got audience honorable mentions and some of our honorable mentions, what didn't quite make the cut for the folks here at the Tough Cut.
That's right. And, getting into honorable mentions quickly and early, I just want to get one out of the bat because we got the email already from Optimus Prime Rib.
Oh, no.
Subject line, an easy week. Text in the email just says 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Optimus Prime Rib, you're right.
It's a long movie.
But you know what? I'm disappointed. I wanted more from you. I'm kind of let down.
I mean, there's probably like a very long cut you could find of like some kind of Transformers parody.
I want to see
probably
a
sexually
fan
motivated.
cut that is like every single Michael Bay Transformers just back to back to back to back.
I bet there's like a fan cut of the movie where every explosion the movie starts over or something. Or it like gets slower.
Yeah. How do you
like how
finish
every
that
step
movie?
Samwise takes, it'll be the furthest he's ever been from home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just take every time there's an explosion, we've got I don't know. It's gonna try and loop in the Romeo and Juliet clause somehow.
No, I was waiting for it. I was like, please don't bring her up. You could serve a long jail sentence if you try to pull that rule. That counts, I guess.
Yeah. True.
I guess, is that spoilers? Is that spoilers for Transformers Age of Extinction? We've talked about it enough.
Could
where I
care
don't know.
less if it's. I guess spoiler
Honestly,
warning.
I think Age of Extinction is the one movie on this show we don't have to give a spoiler warning for any
Because
of
everyone's
its
seen it.
content.
You're right. Everyone's seen it.
It's
so beloved.
evergreen, baby. Evergreen.
Everyone's seen
We're
it.
going to have a single episode that is exclusively dedicated to Age of Extinction, and Optimus Prime Rib's going to be a guest, and he's going to finally explain himself.
I think
or
that'll
we'll
be the
kill
end
him.
of the podcast, to be honest.
The last episode of the Tough Cut.
The last episode.
Because spending an hour talking about that movie would literally kill me.
It probably
It'll
would.
make you so sick that you're just a little dead boy.
Probably.
Well, you know what I'll say? Fair point, Optimus Prime Rib. It is, in fact, 2 hours and 45 minutes.
I do want to point out another another audience member because they put the movie Taken 2 and then but their reasoning, I don't even know how long. Someone look it up. Their reasoning was
It's
1 minute was too long for that movie.
It's only an hour and a half long.
So we just
The
got like
slick
a
90.
random Taken 2 hater like in our audience, which I just wanted to say to that person, shout out you, because look, I know I'm a random hater of the Avatar movies, and I gotta respect the grind and grustle of someone who just
Russell.
went out of their way
To bash
to
Taken
patch
2.
Taken 2 of all
And it's
movies.
not even-
of
it's
all
not
movies.
even
Like we've ever talked about or referenced Taken.
We never said we like Taken 2. We never said we were it. No, we just said, give us your long recommendation movies. And they went out of their way to say Taken 2 is a bad movie, which, again, more power to them. That's pretty amazing.
That's really good. I like imagining that this person hates Taken 2 so much that they watched it and they hated it so much throughout that they were like, this is the worst movie ever. I sat through 2.5 hours of Taken 2 and it was like only an hour and a half and they just imagined that it was longer than it was.
Yeah.
Incredible.
No, that's very true.
What about our little honorable mentions?
Well, then why don't you give me one, huh?
Yeah. Give me one, Daddy.
Whoa.
Well, there are
Whoa.
many, because it turns
Whoa.
out I really like movies that are long.
Good, because I only had 2.
I referenced Akira Kurosawa specifically during this bracket amongst the possible many times. And there are tons and tons of Akira Kurosawa movies you could pick. But specifically Ran was like, I was so close to putting it in there. It's only like 2 hours and 45-ish minutes.
It's pretty tame for him. Pretty tame for him.
It's pretty long.
It's a long
movie.
Just because it's just so good.
Yeah, I mean, I almost like, Seven Samurai would have been a great pick.
Yeah,
like that's a great movie, but it is long. But it was already on, and I knew that there were other long movies. I did not do a good job of doing the old classics.
Yeah, like Barry Lyndon.
Yeah. Yep. I will say I was really, really close. There was a film I really liked where I was like, how am I ever going to get it on this bracket? Like, how is anyone ever going to like sit and actually watch this? And like, we could talk about it unless they've seen it before. And so I almost picked it, but then I spared y'all. Okay. So it's technically a part of a series that runs like 5 hours, but it's like, they released it all in one film, but it's broken up in like 3 films. It's called Koyaanisqatsi. Don't know if you guys have ever heard of it. You might have. It's an experimental film that has no dialogue, and is Koyaanisqatsi itself is only an hour 26, and that's one part of like 3. I'm pretty sure, but like it blew my mind when I was like a young lad watching it in high school. And it's just a bunch of images, and it shows you cycles of like life and earth and shit, but it's like really, really well done. And just over the background is just someone going Koyaanisqatsi over and over for that whole time. And it's one of those movies that like they've now edited to where Koyaanisqatsi itself is just a movie that's set an hour and 26. But it feels like it's like 8 hours because of no dialogue. Repeated.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you just say a 7-hour, 26-minute movie feels like it's 8 hours?
No. An hour 26 movie feels like.
So how long does the 5-hour version feel like it lasts?
I watched it in parts, admittedly, when I was a teenager, so I don't know. But I really liked Koyaanisqatsi.
Nice.
So that's my like bougie pick that I didn't pick, and I leaned away from it for you guys.
I mostly just have regular fanboy picks for this one.
Hit
Avengers Endgame, 3-hour movie.
I almost picked that too. I love that movie.
It's good. It's a great culmination. I feel like it suffers from similar issues to what Lord of the Rings suffer from, of like, how do you separate it from the rest of the MCU?
Thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think it does a pretty admirable job of standing on its own, but it is very deep as like the conclusion of that first big Avengers arc.
I mean, yeah, I just remember seeing it for the first, like now I can break it apart, sure, but like seeing it for the first time, I had no complaints. I was so happy. The reaction was so like bold and beautiful. I loved it. And that experience will never be taken away,
Oh, for sure. Just another one quick that I was considering, any of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, but we already talked about them in the Pirates bracket.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, they're kind of long, but like they're not. The reason I thought about it was because the third Pirates of the Caribbean movie was the first movie I saw in theaters that I specifically remember in theaters being like, wow, this is a long movie. And I think it's only like 2.5 hours, which is like kind of long, but like.
Now you're such a big boy and you can sit down and watch a almost 5-hour movie.
Yeah, I sure can.
To follow up on Jake's idea of a movie you didn't want to subject the group to, the two of you recall I sent a very, very specific warning about a particular film long ago, and Alex said, "Please don't make me watch that."
He literally said, "Please never." Yeah,
and that is Love Exposure. It's a Japanese film. It is incredible and about 4 hours long. It also, spoilers, a man has his erect penis cut off,
which is
by
like
scissors.
Yeah, pretty tame.
What? So is it like a really graphic showing of it, or is it just like quick happens and it's kind of done?
I mean, you like see it happen. I wouldn't say
okay, but is it like
the movie's like pretty
is it like
graphic,
a drawn
but not
out?
like, no, it's not like a torture scene. Fortunately,
okay. So Can
Wait,
I
did he say
ask?
fortunately or
Oh,
unfortunately?
actually, no. It's definitely graphic, but it's not like having a penis beat by a hammer like a certain other film.
Okay. Is it okay?
Jake knows what I'm talking about.
Would this movie have replaced Barry Lyndon?
What was more
yeah,
torturous
probably.
for Alex?
Yeah, I'm trying to
watching
wonder if I
Barry
would have
Lyndon-
what I would have preferred.
Love Exposure, by all intents and purposes, seems like a great movie.
Oh, it's fucking fantastic. But I like how Jake's saying that. But no, I mean, I'm sure you like read the plot summary or something.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
or like the synopsis. It's a great movie. It's just in a similar vein to how RRR has a lot going on. This movie has a lot going on.
Sure does.
Okay.
It's a great movie though.
One day we'll watch it.
But didn't want to make you guys watch a
Whenever we do the genital hurting bracket, yeah, we'll that one will be top of the list.
along with that one with Willem Dafoe.
That's amazing. I realized I kind of played myself because one of my like top favorite movies of all time is decently long. Because I was thinking like when I was thinking long bracket, I was like, oh, they have to be at least 3 hours. Was my like personal bar. And so when I looked up some movies, I was like, they're like 2 hours and 45. That is long, but is it like long enough to be in the long bracket? So I overthought a bunch of them. And I love The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. That is a long movie. That's like one of my faves of all time. Yeah, I really do. I that's like genuinely not a popular opinion. I know a lot of people have a lot of problems with that. They're like, oh, it's like a Forrest Gump ripoff, blah, 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 whatever.
I mean, Forrest Gump is a whole other box.
That's a whole other box of chocolates. You're right. But I love that movie. Another one that I enjoyed that kind of fit the same like kind of thing was Cloud Atlas, which was that would have been really fun.
That would have been really fun.
But it's a 2 hour and like 45 minutes. So I was like, it's almost there, but is it like long enough? That one's also contentious too. Like not a lot of people. I remember watching that with my family, and only my brother and I enjoyed it, and my other like family members wanted to leave, and they kept talking shit about it. And my brother and I were looking at each other like, but we liked it. Yeah. So those two were my two like maybe I should have picked them, but oh well, I didn't. But I'll shout them out. Eventually, I will get hopefully both of them on.
Yeah, in due time. Just to hit, because I, as I said, have so many.
Yeah.
The like directorial categories. I already said Akira Kurosawa, but Quentin Tarantino. There were so many Tarantino movies you could have picked for this. I really wanted to do The Whole Bloody Affair, but didn't want to pack this bracket full of Akira Kurosawa or of Quentin Tarantino. Just as well, Martin Scorsese.
Boo.
A whole lot of pretty long Martin Scorsese movies that I quite like.
No, there's some good ones.
Those for later brackets. And then finally, Francis Ford Coppola, Godfather movies could have put.
I'm surprised you didn't. I'm surprised you didn't double down.
I want to save those. I want to save those for when we're not. Imagine like any movie you watch after sitting down and watching 12 other hours of movie in a day. You're gonna be tough. I don't care, dude. Get me through it.
Yeah,
I feel that. I just had one more. And that's because I kind of think it's cool. And it's Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet. It's a 4-hour movie because he like takes it straight from Shakespeare's script to screen, and he like doesn't cut anything out, which is I think never done with Shakespeare film adaptations. So pretty cool.
Yeah, Kenneth Branagh's definitely a theater boy. I didn't know how to explain that other than that, and so that's going to be really, 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 really well done.
I feel like
really
you
articulate.
nailed it.
Yeah, he's a theater boy.
Yeah. Thank you, Jake. That was really.
It was insightful, right? It's insightful.
Yeah, for sure.
Another. So shifting to an audience, because I know Matthew and I also have more, but we'll rotate here.
I have so many movies I love.
I thought it was really funny. Two really funny things. One, so like I posted honorable mentions twice, and then people like gave us a little bit more and more. It was so funny. Two people who don't even like know each other at almost the same time, and this happened twice, gave the same movies. So two people did The Green Mile almost back to back, which is a good movie. And then 2 people did Schindler's List, another great movie, back to back. And these 2 people, like, I know for sure don't know each other. And it was just wild that literally, like, at the same moment, at the same time, they did those. And I was like, that was pretty cool. Another funny thing about the Schindler's List one, which is a sentence I never thought I'd say, was that we post little, like, silly, stupid, like, photos for, like, the honorable mention thing. So it was just,
and
like,
you can see those on social media if you follow @ToughGuyPod.
you sure can. And they're pretty damn fun, if I do say so myself. It was like a picture of Taz and Bugs Bunny in, like, basketball and street clothes, and they're like back to back, and they're like, give us your long movies. And someone put, I kind of feel weird putting this with this background, but Schindler's List, which I got a very good chuckle.
Imagine
Very
a
good.
Looney Tunes Schindler's List.
Stop it. Imagine a
They're
Muppets
just-
Schindler's List. Really, really good stuff.
Wild.
Oh my god, Liam Neeson. Whoa, he's coming full circle. Because Taken 2.
Taken 2, but with Muppets.
I have to laugh. I saw these audience honorable mentions, and I truly hope someone was joking when they wrote Eternals.
Okay, yeah. That's also a real one that got put. Eternals got put. Why?
Did you guys see Eternals?
Audience member, I don't want to shame you. Eternals was the only movie I've ever seen in theaters where I, in the middle of the movie, several times raised my hand and did a thumbs down at the screen for the entire audience sitting behind me to see, and
Wow.
felt no shame or regret.
Damn,
God, it was one of the
brave.
worst movies I've ever seen.
But I had Harry Styles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, aren't
I
we seeing the
guess.
same thing with Don't Worry, Darling?
Yeah.
Where, like, I feel like everyone I know I haven't seen it yet, full disclosure.
I haven't
nor
seen
have
it
I
yet
seen
either.
Eternals.
I haven't seen it.
Everyone I know that's seen Don't Worry, Darling and given it a rating above a 6 has said it got extra points just because Harry Styles was in it. Which is bad vibes for a film.
Bad
if
vibes.
That's the only reason it's above average.
I saw a really
Yeah.
funny tweet that it was like, I just saw Don't Worry, Darling, and now I understand why Christopher Nolan told him to not say a word in Dunkirk. It was pretty brutal.
That's so funny.
It's pretty
if
brutal.
You've seen Don't Worry, Darling. Tell us if that's true. And unpacking, did you like Eternals, Jake?
I did, like, I tend to enjoy most movies I see to some degree. There are only some that I actively hate. I just like going to the movies, but it wasn't one that like I like enjoyed a lot. I thought some things were fun, but it's definitely like forgettable MCU stuff. Like there are some MCU movies where like I totally will subscribe to the whole like, Jesus, we're making too many of these a year, and like it's like kind of awful, and like they're like quote unquote passable movies. I think it's a passable movie, but like why make a passable movie like 4 times a year when you can make a
Could just
really
make good
great
ones.
movie? And so it's like you kind of question the machine, and this one did make me question the machine. Chloe Zhao as a director is fantastic, though. I mean, because
What
she
else does she direct? Oh,
she did
didn't she direct
Nomadland.
Nomadland.
she did
Yeah.
Nomadland, and so like
That's fair.
Eternals looks pretty in a lot of shots that aren't the
It's
CGI
very
stuff.
pretty.
But
The content of it is
Yeah.
like the amount of stuff that happens in the movie could have been 5 minutes.
But first
All I
sex
can
scene in the
say-
MCU, so give it some credit, I guess.
What are you talking? Oh, wait, is it like happen on screen?
Yeah, full penetration on screen.
Full penetration. Damn, that's kind of naughty.
Harry
Um,
Styles,
Does full penetration on screen in the Eternals?
yeah,
Gets
Mhm.
penetrated on screen in the Eternals?
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
yeah.
Very
All I can say is there's
revolutionary.
a lot of people on the poster.
Yeah, there's
It's
too
called
many
Eternals. It's called Eternals because some people wanted that scene to go on for an eternity, and other people thought that the movie lasted for an eternity.
people, and there's no
Damn.
in between.
There's no in between.
No in between. Maybe they should have introduced a little love exposure scissors to that scene.
I'm surprised, Matthew, that you didn't call out our last audience honorable mention. I totally thought you'd be like, let's talk about it.
Oh, what honorable mention could that be? One, actually. Audience, what the hell? Why you've seen long movies? Why so few of you message us this time?
Yeah, kind of wild.
Honestly, kind of rude.
Kind of wild.
I feel like long movies though is kind of hard to like.
Well, maybe they overthought, like that, like I did. They thought like,
And they're
oh,
like,
a 2.5
it has to be
hour
5
movie.
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But But the last one we got from the audience was Kong vs. Godzilla. You know
How
me.
long is that movie?
I think it's like 2-something hours. I don't even think it's that long.
It's 30 minutes.
It's less than 2
It's
hours.
less than 2 hours.
It's about the length of a flight from New York to Atlanta.
Dude,
Ooh.
the fact that this is less than 2 hours and someone gave it to long movies, I'm sorry, little dude, but you don't got no tolerance for this stuff.
Can I expose that person real quick? Not their name, but just they gave multiple honorable mentions, and Taken 2 was one of them as well. So they're a very interesting person.
They hate Taken 2. They think Kong vs. Godzilla is pushing it in terms of length.
Maybe they actually meant that Taken 2 was too long because it was like over a minute. Maybe they can only watch like
They can
TikToks. Or like,
TikTok has ruined their attention span. If it's not 9 seconds long, they're like, I can't put up with this shit.
Maybe they just hate sequels.
That's true.
Well, they like Kong vs. Godzilla. They just think it's long. That's so sweet of them, though. Honestly, there's something kind of pure about being like, this 2-hour movie, it's pretty long, guys. When you talk about it on your show.
Guys, I have a little tie. I can't do it, guys.
Oh, just imagine them doing a little cartoon yawn, and and then just like you put a little nightcap on them and send them to bed with a warm cup of milk.
Yeah, I'm imagining it's like little Cindy Lou Who from the
Animated
old
Grinch.
Grinch cartoon.
Yeah,
You can't say animated Grinch anymore.
that's
'Cause
true.
now there's-
Otherwise, you never know if it's a Grinch
Because of
benefit or
PC
not.
culture, am I right? Oh, because you can't. Why can't you say animated Grinch anymore, guys? What the fuck?
Any other honorable mentions you guys want to call out?
Yeah. I think I should have probably done Blade Runner's director's cut. That's a good movie.
Hey, we so Jake and I actually talked about this a little bit. I love Blade Runner in general as universe, the book, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, and I nearly picked 2049 for this bracket despite preferring the original.
And I love
Jake,
2049. But
Jake said, despite preferring 2049, he almost picked the original, which I thought was a cute little ships passing in the night.
we did. And then we both bonded over our hatred of Jared Leto. It was really funny. Like, we proceeded into shit on 2049 where it's like, yeah, I think it's a great movie, except for one big part.
Yeah. And then that's where we came to the conclusion that the only acceptable Jared Leto media is him from the This Is War music video.
Yes. 110%.
Which maybe if we do another music videos bracket, I'll put that one in it.
You should. I think we missed some like movie musicals that tend to be longer.
Oh.
I think like, we could have gotten
that's
The Sound of
probably true.
Music in there. Fiddler on the Roof was one I
Les
was playing
Mis.
with. Les Mis, yeah, but we already did that one. And it made it to the final, so put some respect on its name.
True. Spoilers for movie musical bracket. There are literally like so many
Yeah.
long movies.
Mhm.
Apocalypse Now is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Francis Ford Coppola.
Oh yeah, we forgot about our dishonorable mention that we all agreed on, The Irishman. All right, so that concludes.
Wait a minute. You don't like young CGI Robert De Niro trying to kick a man?
No, and that was when he was like talking shit about how Marvel movies were too long and shit, and then he like released that. He did
The
more.
Irishman.
He did like Martin Scorsese's arguments actually are completely valid.
Yeah, there's more context to that argument than the headline.
Yeah. Completely valid, but the headline made me go, what? Yeah.
I'm gonna kill you. With that, let us jump into our final matchup, and we can for once and all send these 26 hours of movie out of our brains.
Thank you guys for sticking with this one and sending us our honorable mentions. I hope someone, at least watch one of the movies. That's my like hope for this bracket.
And if you watched one of them, hopefully it was Barry Lyndon.
Where my Barry head's at, or my Lyndon head's
Lyndoners, come on.
Yeah, come
right.
out of the woodwork so I can strangle you.
With that said, on one side of the bracket, triumphing over the Wailing and then Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers Extended Edition, we've got the epic spectacle that is RRR, and it is going up against the movie that trounced the first in its trilogy, made its way over the Hateful Eight, arriving at the finals, the spectacular conclusion, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, Extended Edition. Jake, do you want to go ahead and introduce RRR for the last time in this bracket?
SS Rajamouli's 2022 film Rise, Roar, Revolt, RRR is about two legendary revolutionaries and their star-crossed interwoven paths and taking down the British colonialists in the 1920s. This movie has so much in it, like we talked about in honorable mentions. It's got love, it's got action, it's got betrayal, it's got dancing, it's got singing, it's got poison, it's got antidotes, it's got friendship, it's got hatred, it's got white colonizers dying, it's got
a lot of that.
Tigers, lions, bears, oh my. It's got
Buff
fire,
boys.
It's got water, and it has, a tale of two brothers, not blood brothers, but that could, cross centuries. This movie, I'm just so happy that two people that I love and adore were able to watch this movie, and we talked about it for as long as we've talked about it, and I can't wait to talk about it more.
Nice.
Wonderful introduction there, Jake.
Thank you.
Alex, for the last time in this bracket, Return of the King.
Yeah, the gang's all here.
Mm-hmm.
They're investigating a mystery. The mystery being, what's that fish-smelling guy gonna do when we try to throw his little present away? This is a 4.5 hour movie. The first half is one giant battle, and the second half is a journey into darkness. So, okay, I think I'm gonna start this off hot, guys.
Oh shit!
We have to address an elephant in the room, and I haven't been bringing it up because I wanted to give everything a fair shot, and because I enjoyed RRR so much.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, RRR is like a 3-hour movie.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
This movie is 4.5 hours. It's a long fucking movie, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good the whole time, right? Like,
arguably.
this. Okay, yeah, there's a spider scene. Scary does not mean bad, Jake.
Sometimes. But sorry, please continue.
Okay. RRR is really good, guys. But this movie also very good. And this movie much longer. Yeah?
That is an argument for the long movie bracket, and that is admittedly yes. If we are just talking length, Return of the King's got that shit. I will admit that.
So this gets at Alex so perfectly sets up actually.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
One of the conversations I really wanted to have as I was stewing on this matchup, because we picked the Lord of the Rings Return of the King extended edition.
Right.
Emphasis on the extended edition. Obviously, presumably because it's the longer version. When it comes down to it, I can't for sure know what was going on in Peter Jackson's head. Presumably there was a reason to make a film that certain things were cut when it comes to the theatrical version. And it could be as simple as film-going audiences don't want to sit in a movie theater for 4.5 hours, but it could also be more than that. And to me, part of that question comes down to, what are you trying to make? Are you trying to make a theatrical experience, or are you trying to make an adaptation? And that is almost where I see the theatrical cut versus the extended cut kind of divide occur. And I want to know what you guys make of that. That it is 4.5 hours. Do you think that makes a better film? Do you think it is using its time wisely? Or I guess wisely could mean yes, because they're trying to make this genuine adaptation of one of the greatest fantasy novels of all time. But it could also be, yes, I think it just makes it a better film as far as like functional movie stuff. And I want to know what you guys make of that.
So I think it gets complicated because we do these brackets, and the reason why we like them so much and that it works as often as it does is we have a theme. And we have a theme, and we've picked long, and we purposely make them vague for sometimes purposely vague for conversation. And it's hard because objectively it's the longer movie, and I did, consider, because it was hard for me throughout this whole bracket, if you listen back, talking extended versus the theatrical. Like you said, I think that even if RRR is shorter, I think ultimately, because the Lord of the Rings as a franchise has so much, like you said, it's an adaptation. This is the third one. They're building up to something. I mean, they all have extended editions because of, their success and the money between them and the lore that exists. I think that RRR will, obviously, we will never know what an extended edition of that looks like, but they're probably like, when you make a movie, there is stuff that is left on the cutting room floor, like a lot, especially when you make a longer movie. There's all, historically, the tabloids like leak, especially for a Marvel product, like, this movie is rumored to be 3 hours and 20 minutes long, and then it's like 2 hours, long. like they do that like for hype or whatever. I guarantee that there are a lot of usable scenes. Clearly in RRR, the direction is fan-fucking-tastic. Like, Rajamouli, like, is a very good director in it, that are just on the cutting room floor, but it doesn't have the same kind of star wow factor of Lord of the Rings because of all the lore and because of all the history and experience. Like, that studio believed in itself to like release extended cuts. Like, it knew it would benefit their brand. Like, it knew people like wanted that. And it's not that people don't want extended cut of RR. It's just people are satisfied with the story, and they know that, or they think that there's not more lore, where Lord of the Rings, they know that there is. And so it's like hard if you're comparing it just by like, well, technically Lord of the Rings is longer. Like, yes, it is, but RRR could have been longer and probably still like slapped. And I know the reality is that it isn't, and that is, I'm totally taking that in consideration.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think that, because me personally, like, I really like Return of the King. I don't think all 4 hours are a perfect movie. I tend to like the totality of RRR more than the totality of Return of the King extended. Now, if it was just Return of the King, it might be different. But I think extended, like, just I know the lore at least well enough. I know you guys know it more. Just for me, I don't know it well enough to like at all the extended stuff as much as other people. And all of the whole length of RRR, all 3 hours of this movie, I enjoyed.
So I guess I understand that. Theoretically, RRR could have been longer. Maybe there was more stuff that was left out. You tend to like the totality of RRR more. But I would kind of argue with that. Just because Lord of the Rings Return of the King Extended Edition has so much to draw from, and RRR doesn't have that source material, that doesn't make what Return of the King Extended Edition does any less incredible, right? Because, if anything, it has a strong fan base looking to either see the best or the failure in it. It is not blind support. You can see that by looking at the Hobbit movies, the last season of Game of Thrones. Like, there are people who, if things are bad, they're not just going to sit by and be okay with it, right? Sure. So, yeah, it had so much source material, it had so much stuff, but what I think the movie does so well, and why the people who like it love it so fervently, is because it works so hard to not only do its best to adapt the books, but to show the breadth of the world. The scene that comes to mind right now is the one where they light the torches from Minas Tirith all the way to Rohan. That scene of just torches going up in the mountain is like a minute and a half. Like, it's long, right? But it has so much weight and so much like emotional power of like, they refuse to ally. They refuse to help each other until this bridge is met. It gives the world so much weight and so much size. Not only is this a long runtime, it is a long world, literally. I don't know. I loved RRR. Very fun movie. But when you talk about long movies, it like I don't see a world where I can vote for RRR and not Lord of the Rings here.
Well, it seems you two are already like in your little beds.
Matt,
Now-
we all knew how this was gonna end.
To be fair,
like
I'm not fully in a bed. I'm just presenting what I'm thinking. Alex is definitely in a bed.
so I've been literally debating this with myself the last week of like, is there a way that I can give RRR a fair shot? And I really have been like trying to,
Mhm.
but and there's nothing more I can really say besides it is an event to sit down and watch the Lord of the Rings movies. You spend an entire day doing it. And as much as you want to vote for like Return of the King Extended Edition is one movie, you have to judge it on its own. Like, yeah, but it's a part of this series and there's a context with the series. And like, it has this backbone. It has this context. And you can't just divorce the movie from that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, RRR is a great movie. I wouldn't host a party just to have a bunch of friends watch RRR.
I probably would. I definitely would. That is an experience.
It's so
That
much
is
fun.
So fun.
You've never
It's a
never
fun
just
movie,
like
but, like-
invited your friends over to watch like a single movie. Like, hey guys, there's even like good movie, super shit movie. Like, you've never just been like, you want to get together and watch a movie?
I mean,
It always
I
has
guess
to be
so.
like an event.
But I mean, like when I think of, I guess I go back to when I like bring people over to watch a movie, we just kind of hang out, watch a movie. Maybe we'll finish the movie, usually not. When I would like sit down with my friends and watch the Lord of the Rings movies, it was like, okay, come over at 8 a.m. We're going to start these movies and go the entire day just like sitting there watching them. It's like, it's such a huge thing. I don't know. Like, I agree that RR is really good. It's really fun. You can watch with your friends and have a great time. But like, to me, Lord of the Rings is an event. It is so much bigger. And for me, that is a long movie.
To be completely fair, it has the time. It has the history. Like the RR just came out this year. And Lord of the Rings like has been around. It is now an event. Like it is now. I agree with you that is a thing. Like when you hear someone doing Lord of the Rings like marathon, like it's usually people who's like, oh, I'm gonna watch all that. Like I totally get that, but I don't think that's necessarily a great argument for a movie that just came out this year and is already so great, but we don't even know its potential of how great it can be and what its lasting power will be.
It's also tough because built into the Lord of the Rings is the fact that they're an adaptation of what is probably the most famous fantasy series in Western media. You know, like Tolkien literally redefined fantasy and everyone else is like, yeah, that's how we're going to do it now. So it means it's like its legacy is built on the back of an existing monumentally important legacy. I know that if these films had been bad, no one would care about these movies. They'd probably still be talking about Tolkien. And it is really tough to divorce these movies from that context, but
I also think you don't have to. Like,
sure,
that's a
you can
part of the
embrace
movie,
it for
right?
sure.
Like, I think that is part of what makes it so good and what makes you want to sit down and watch the whole thing.
I think that's part of what I was getting at with my question is the extended edition of Return of the King best fit to be viewed as just a filmic experience, or is it like this greater attempt at making a true adaptation of the Return of the King novel?
I think it's an enriching experience for a select amount of people. I think that RRR is a more full experience for a wider net of people. And that's not saying like mass appeal should be the way that should go. I don't necessarily subscribe to that. I'm just saying that I do think Lord of the Rings Extended Edition is a very like I could see just watching Lord of the Rings Return of the King and be like, oh, I want to watch that, whatever, I'll watch it. Saying I want to watch the Extended Edition, while for some people, yes, that is an event, that is a thing, I don't think that's as big of a draw for a lot of people. And I just happen to be one of those people where if it wasn't for, this podcast, or if a friend like wasn't like super obsessed with it, whatever, I probably wouldn't have the hankering. We
talked about that last week though, of like, and we just disagree on this, Jake, because I don't think a long movie should be something where spur of the moment you just decide you want to watch it. It's a long movie. You have to make a decision to watch it, in my mind.
Sure.
You have to.
You do have to.
I'm just processing.
You have to.
Because,
It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough because as I said, maybe Jake, your bed is not fully made, but like I am essentially the swing voter here, and trying to parse these two is really, really hard. Because, I know we just voted Two Towers versus RRR last week, but there's almost a piece of this that is a different beast because there is that huge fact that Return of the King, it dedicates an hour of its runtime to conclusions because it has to conclude everything from the preceding 10 hours, or I guess at that point, that point in the runtime of Return of the King, 14 hours of movie.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot that it's got to put together, and I think it does so in such a satisfying way that is really, really valuable as far as long movies go. But on the other coin, I truly believe RRR is a modern classic in the making of a spectacle film. Like, it's something that people will sit down and watch and go, holy shit, like, how did this get made? It's so crazy, and it does it so well. So it's tough. They have different approaches to what it means to be long. And, I guess I'm not sure which one is correct.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. There's no correct. Because that's the thing I also want to say, and why my bed's not fully made. I like Return of the King, a lot more than, let's say, Two Towers for the example that, like, the RRR. And I'll say that even with the spider, whatever, fuck it. I genuinely, I genuinely enjoy Return of the King, and I have to give it credit for its conclusion. That is so awesome, and to still be as long. Imagine if Return of the King was only 90 minutes. Imagine if it was a tight 90. Holy hell. Like, that'd be hilarious. I don't know what they'd keep. I know what I wouldn't keep. But I do, like, out of all of them, like, I like this one a lot. And so it is the most difficult matchup for me versus something like RRR. Like you said, Matthew, it's just like, it's hard also seeing such a recent film capture me this deeply.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to also give that credit. Like, that's insane. Especially, like...
Go ahead.
Keep your thought in your brain, though.
No, I got my thought.
Yeah, you got it in your little brain?
Yeah, it's in here.
Okay, hell yeah.
I got locked away. Steel trap, baby.
Steel trap. I hope me talking didn't make me forget what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's happening.
I knew it.
I
knew
tell
it was
Jake
happen.
to say it, and he instead opts to go the route of make a joke.
It's my curse of this whole podcast, I swear to God. It's either make a joke or say a point that is actually valid and well thought out. And I'll always choose the joke, baby. We're a comedy podcast first. I think that I lost it, and Matthew, you can go, and it'll probably come back.
So just to kind of, as we continue discussing this, something to stew on, and I actually didn't know, and I guess RRR provided me the opportunity to learn when we talked a little bit about this film is not a Bollywood movie and why that's like culturally significant.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more reading, it turns out the characters of Bheem and Raju are real people.
They're real revolutionaries, yeah.
The bow he takes from they're real dudes. They didn't actually meet, and nor did they climb on the shoulders of the other and fucking 360 snipe hundreds of dudes.
The dude did battle 100 people by himself, though. That is accurate.
And that's just that's like such an interesting layer because RRR is like a genuine mythology.
Yeah.
Like it is a cultural historical mythology for these two real revolutionaries and figures in Indian history. And that is just such an interesting angle. And I almost wish I could have had the context of knowing who these people were, or like growing up reading about
imagine
this history,
seeing this, yeah.
And then getting to see this movie mythologizing these two people would be so cool.
Well, that's,
or potentially, sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's also like kind of the thing where it's like, this has potential to really be like a really impactful movie, and like it we already talked about this, but it's already made so much money. Like people are seeing this movie like all across the world. It's insane. Oh, what I was gonna say, I got it in my little brain.
Yay.
Look, blockbusters are kind of hard nowadays. I don't know if you guys have like noticed. It's hard to like define what a blockbuster is, especially when just it's like, oh, every Marvel movie makes $1 billion. Like, what is a spectacle film now? And I think back then, like Lord of the Rings kind of like hits it like so perfectly during that like kind of was a mid 2000s like frame where like that was a spectacle. People lined up, people like still talk about it, people whatever. I think the spectacle film or like the definition has like changed or evolved over the years to where like a film like RRR is such like the word of mouth and the media around it, like on like Twitter, like social media and stuff, like that's like an insane way to like promote this movie and make it a spectacle. This isn't a Marvel movie. This isn't something like that. And it's still being really like successful and powerful. And I think that that's super well noting in these like films where every one of those big films is trying to be a spectacle film. In this like era, it still like cuts across as something special. I think that's like extra powerful.
I think that is one of the interesting things with this matchup is the two of you guys getting to be like the third person in the room, the two of you guys talking a little bit about an event and what your approach to that idea is. Like Alex, this idea of sitting down and committing to watching 15 hours of movie to recount in almost complete accuracy this completely legendary genre-defining fantasy story versus this idea of what it means to like create a single theatrical experience that is having like an active cultural impact. And I feel like some of it, at least I'm obviously not characterizing your opinions like 100% correct.
How dare you?
But there's this piece of it, Jake, that I think your like love specifically of like the movie theater as a medium or as a vehicle for seeing a film almost like plays into the significance of something like RRR. Like there is like it being an active and ongoing film phenomena.
It's probably
almost
very
garners
true.
like additional appreciation because it's like get together and go to the theater and see this. Of course, RRR is a hard one for that because it is not in many, if any, theaters. In the
I
United
would pay
States.
so much money to see RRR in theaters. Like if RRR had a showing at like the like a local theater, oh my god, I would go to that. I would go to that.
You probably could petition them to try and get them to do it.
Probably. I mean, if it does
Rent
make
a
it to the
theater.
Oscars, the Britannia or the Broad does like an Oscars showcase.
Yeah,
so
they would
they'll
for
do
sure
it.
have it then. Yeah, this is just such a tough matchup because to me they are very different versions of the long movie, and that's what it sounds like they are for you. And those are the reasons why you like that version of the long movie.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's hard because like I really enjoyed RRR, right? Like it's a great movie. It's so much fun to watch.
I really enjoyed Lord of the Rings, and I give it Return of the King I give so much credit to it. It's great.
Yeah. And Matt, I think you're right about Jake and I just like approaching these with different ideas of what we enjoy in a long movie and what we think makes a long movie best. Because the Lord of the Rings movies were unique when they came out too. Like the same way that RRR feels so special and like a spectacle.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Lord of the Rings movies are unlike any movies that came before them and probably came since. They've tried to recreate the magic of these movies with, The Hobbit and all those other things, and they failed spectacularly, right? It's just interesting. But even then, like, this was such a different type of spectacle than RRR is, right? It's just interesting and fascinating the way film evolves.
Yeah, I think it's almost like Lord of the Rings is like an epic poem in like the truest sense of the word epic, where RRR is a spectacle in the truest sense of the word spectacle. And both of those are 100% valid reasons to sit down and spend
and
X
watch a
number of
long
hours
movie. Yeah, if you
watching a long
describe
movie.
something as epic and a spectacle, I'm gonna watch those movies.
It,
which is why we should have pitched The Hobbit.
Man, the Battle of the Five Armies goes hard, dude.
We would have such an easier conversation now if we had pitched The Hobbit.
If The Hobbit made it this far, Jesus Christ, what's happening? You wouldn't even vote for Mouse Hunt. What's going on here?
And then from the top rope, suddenly, the Hobbit Desolation of Smog!
Benedict Cumberbatch's hard work paying off.
And we have to somehow vote, because it's about that time.
And guys, I have a question. What would have happened if Beam and Raja were in the Fellowship?
I almost said shit would have been done faster, but also they have more and more shit. Every single enemy that got defeated, a bigger, stronger, more crazy enemy would take its place in the most stupid way. It'd probably be really fun. Again,
all I know,
Legolas would be the same character, so that's good to know.
I think it would actually be pretty interesting, because I think they would be philosophically opposed to what to do with the ring. They would not agree, which would be so interesting. Right.
And then they'd have to fight them, and they ain't winning. Fellowship guys ain't winning that fight.
I don't know. It'd be tough. It depends if Samwise Gamgee has Mjolnir or not. Call back, baby. Go watch the team up bracket.
Love that. Wow. Remember when I pitched the A-team? Justice for the A-team. Anyway.
That was fun.
I had a great time with it.
Imagine a tight 90 kind of movie right about now.
No,
I'd watch a tight 90
I'm
and go to bed.
romanticizing tight 90s right now. I watched the Bob's Burger movie on the plane because I was like, yeah, I need just something easy.
Despite it being an approximately 5-hour plane ride, Jake's I can't right now, man.
The perfect time to watch a long movie. No. Give me a tight.
Guys, I'm so glad likely the movies for the next bracket are going to be shorter.
I agree. Can't wait to find out what that next bracket is, audience.
That's
Aren't
pretty
you
exciting.
Interested?
Oh no.
Did we whet your appetite?
I'm wet and hungry. That'd be pretty fun. That would also be pretty fun.
Wow. I'm 50-50 if Legolas becomes a revolutionary or
a colonizer.
If he just joins the British.
He might join the British there. He might be he would join the British and then realize the error of his ways. But he would do war crime.
At least one war crime.
Yeah. He would do war crime.
Legolas has one war crime in him.
With that said,
it does. Alex, you wanna do the honors?
At the end of the day, for me, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King the Lord of the Rings extended editions in general are the ultimate long movie viewing experience. I think Return of the King extended edition does a great job of tying everything together, concluding an epic series, honoring the history and the context from which the story comes. I think at the end of the day, it is incomparable. I think it is, to me, there is nothing greater for a long movie experience than what this movie accomplishes. So I am voting for Lord of the Rings Return of the King Extended Edition.
I was really hoping after all that you would have just randomly said RRR. I mean, yeah, I really wasn't completely sold, but I just think talking longer about it and in these camps, I'm gonna vote for RRR. I think just having what it could be is so exciting to me, and I know exactly how I felt with it. And again, I just enjoy the totality of RRR more than the totality of the extended edition, and they're both still long. So
that is true.
So that's where I'm at. But both great movies minus spiders.
So that brings it to me. You guys made your little beds. Now you're already honk shooing your night away.
I'm a
little sleepy dreamy boy.
I think this might be one of the closest matchups in my head that we've had, where if we redid this 10 times on 10 different days, I would probably vote 10 different ways.
You can only vote 2 different ways.
Yeah, wait, name the other 8 ways you could vote.
Oh, God. Godfather Part 2 is coming. Oh, God, it's coming.
It'd be since I can't vote for Godfather Part 2, I'll vote for the second best option. No, it's more so that question of spectacle versus epic, that is nearly impossible for me to pick one over the other, and which one I prefer at any given time is going to be a image of me in that current headspace and moment, etc. And it just so happens this is me post 26 hours of movie watching and, 4 hours of conversation about said movies, plus planning and prep. And yeah, that just to say that I think my philosophical consistency is the big question. How can I maintain it and yet feel like I could vote for both of these or either of these? And I honestly don't know, audience. God, please help
This
me.
is where he quits. This is it. He walks away. His long goodbye.
Wow, I truly thought that after all that, you were going to say after 26 hours of movie, you were just going to vote for RRR because it's the faster, funner one.
Because it's slightly shorter. And I think today, with how I am feeling, with how I am thinking, I am going to vote for Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
I genuinely had no idea what he was going to
Yeah, me
say.
either.
Holy shit.
That said, RRR is a spectacle. It is so good. Please go and watch it. It very easily could have been the winner at the other side of this. With that said, we've got a brand new bracket coming to your little ears near you. And
That was really good. Because you said little now instead of like long, and so like we're changing paths. No more long
exactly.
The juxtaposition.
talk. No more long
Exactly.
talk.
It's
the
little,
Tough Cup boys have all little penises from here point on.
much
Hey,
like
3 inches is really big to some people, Jake.
much like Jake's fear at Shelob the spider.
Oh, don't say its name.
A small Jake would have been extra afraid, don't we agree?
Yes.
Well, our next bracket is childhood fears, baby. Movies
Hell
that
yeah.
scared us as kids.
We're welcoming spooky season in. The Tough Cut lads love a good spooky season, and so we're gonna
Most of us do.
The Tough Cut lads love a good spooky season, damn it. Sorry, guys, sorry. And, we're doing, the movies that scared the shit of us as a kid. And maybe they still scare us now. Who knows? I'm looking at you, Alex. Don't do anything you're afraid of.
The movies that I'm picking certainly still scare me currently.
This bracket's going to be so much fun. So be on the lookout for it to come out and for our announcement posts about what's in the bracket, because it's sure to be delightful.
We're going to get spooky voice Matthew a lot.
Delightfully spooky. Devilishly spooky.
And I'm Jakers. Oh, shit.
With that said, if you enjoyed today's show, make sure to rate and review it on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. Follow us on social media at Tough Cut Pod. We're on all of your favorites. And you should share today's episode with someone who was once a child.
Wait. I see what you did there. Make sure you write a long review, too.
Share this episode with everyone you know who used to be a child.
Yeah, so write us a long review and then tweet at us at Tough Cut Pod what the word count total was.
And
double the engagement.
Yeah, double the engagement. You know what? Also share this with kids you know for sure that you've scared in your lifetime.
Maybe if you know children, if you aren't very well acquainted with children but know that you scare them, don't do this.
No. Like I bet as if you were a kid and you scared another kid. Don't go around scaring kids for the sake of this podcast.
Oh, I thought you meant if there was someone who an adult knows that they scared. As an adult scared a child.
Listen to this podcast? Hey kids, I've got a good speaker system.
Oh, we're going downhill.
You can listen to it in my van.